Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Get Booked Solid. Good morning, everybody. So excited to see you. Good morning, Lacey. And good morning, David Meltzer. Look at the studios really coming together. It looks a lot, looks a lot like Pat McAfee.
It's a mess, and it just is good for me because then my wife can use the other side of her desk.
Oh, there you go.
So great to see you. It's been a long time since I've
Yes, hours, and
it's been
at
hours.
least I got my 7 hours of sleep in. You guys are warriors for sticking to your commitment of excellence and being on the show right off the airplane, an overnight flight. So you probably are treasuring my capability of sleeping anywhere, but nonetheless, I'm so grateful for our trip together out here, and you're showing up this morning.
What were your takeaways from the weekend?
There's a lot. The biggest takeaway was to do your best, learn lessons, and have fun with everything you do. This has been an extraordinary, emotional, active, in every aspect of my life, and I spent minutes and moments in stress like everyone else when one of your friends is having brain surgery, a very close and dear friend. It puts an additional amount of pressure on all the normal activity when you have a week where there's increased activity, where you're doing one of the biggest events you've ever done, back to speaking at Madison Square Garden, back to another event in Las Vegas with all the other huge opportunities. It was just nice. And I remember a conversation that the three of us had as we're literally just having fun, and I wasn't thinking about anything. It was like, hey, what's going on tomorrow at SoFi Stadium with the mastermind and the content? And we're just like, it'll just be fine. And I'm glad that we didn't have an exact idea of what was going to happen, because we would have been extremely stressed, because I don't think one thing would have happened at the time that it was supposed to happen, but it happened better than what I anticipated was going to happen. And that is kind of the formula for success. And that's been my takeaway for the weekend.
So let's give this at the beginning. I want to get this in the beginning and the end, because this is a huge week. Tell everybody where they can catch you this week. How do they get tickets? How do they get in the room?
Yeah, Ticketmaster, or reach directly out to us if you want the VIP experience with the dinner and the suite at YouTube Theater on Friday. Dane Cook and I are trying something new. It's called The Collaboration. We're collaborating with the audience, with our MC and host, who's Rob Riggle, and then with many special guests, as we had yesterday. The Tim Stories of the world, and the Marshall Falks, and the Maria Diamonds, and an eclectic group of individuals that are trying to impact the world, and having a conversation. Questions and suggestions will be the main value, experientially, business development wise, and of course content as always. And then I take the overnight like you guys did, so I can speak at Madison Square Garden with Stephen A. Smith, Martha Stewart, Big Poppy, A-Rod, David Goggins, Tim Story, Dan Fleischman, and then we have our own VIP dinner again after that. And then I'm going to try, I'm not 100% committed, to keynote the afternoon at WealthCon in Las Vegas on my way home, but we'll play that by ear. But I am disappointed because very rarely do we not coordinate our schedules, but YouTube was not very accommodating to the dates and times. So I have to miss your huge event in Nashville with golf on Wednesday, the VIP Black Diamond Club experience there on Thursday, and your mastermind on Friday and Saturday, I believe, in Nashville. So for those people that aren't around New York or LA and sit there in the relocation spot of the United States, Nashville, definitely join my partners in happiness, Sean and Lacey. So thanks for mentioning it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and also I want to just let everybody know that in case you missed this past weekend and you're like, what the heck are they talking about? We're doing it again. August 1st in Las Vegas. So we're super excited about that.
excited.
The Venetian Hotel opening the largest poker room on the Strip, and we're super excited to be able to be a part of that. I know you're excited, Dave. Tell everybody a little bit about the plans and the projects, what's going down at the Venetian.
Yeah, it's actually the Palazzo owned
Okay.
by the Venetian, right? So
Okay, it's the plot, but it's the poker room's in the Venetian.
nope, it's actually
Nope.
in the so it's upstairs from the Palazzo Casino on
Yep.
the escalator up the very first location in the Canal Shops. And they call them the Canal Shops at the
Mhm.
Venetian because the Venetian owns it. But
Got it.
and
Wait,
the only
wait.
reason I say they'd be able to find us, but they'd have to walk. They get dropped off at the wrong hotel and then walk over.
And walk right over.
Yeah.
Sorry,
some of-
everybody. Don't
yeah,
go to the Palazzo.
yeah, the Palazzo is a brand new, and they're launching the poker room. In the back will be our event center and podcast studio. The good thing is, if they did get lost, there's 40 screens across both casinos that will tell you, "Hey, Dr. Lacey Book is in the house." And as I just found out, Dr. Sean Book as well is in the house. Did you guys both rename yourself Book for Book Yourself Solid?
Yeah,
We
why
did.
not?
We did. We were trying to get in alignment with the brand. So, that's how you get book solid. You have to be in alignment with your personal
Yeah.
brand, right?
So us three, just so everyone knows, if you ever want to come, we have studios, Sean Lacey and I, at SoFi Stadium. I have my offices in my masterminds there as well, a training center. So you can join us there. And every month we're going to be doing something, either at the Palazzo, still at the SiriusXM studios, which I have. They're just remodeling it because they're rebranding it from Blue Wire. So come by the Wynn in the lobby. You'll see all three of us at times there. The Palazzo for events, masterminds, and the studio. And then we also have SoFi Stadium. And those three locations and the people that are around never disappoint. Talk about easy
Very
to
true.
book solid. If yesterday wasn't proof how easy it is to book solid in the right place with the right people, then everybody should go ahead and tune in, and we'll teach you how to do this.
We were beyond book solid yesterday, is what
Yes,
we
we
said.
were
It was
saying that we
great.
were beyond book solid,
It's
which is
wonderful.
always fantastic. Yeah, I want to just encourage everybody, reach out to David or to Lacey or myself. We would love to get you in on August 1st. Space is super limited, of course. There's a lot going on, but we want to get you connected, plugged in. We want to get you into the community. And speaking of community, reach out to us on Facebook. The community is called Get Book Solid, just like the show. We have all kinds of amazing stuff going on in the group. We'd love to get you guys plugged in, get you access to resources, all of the cool stuff that's going on. So many opportunities. Opportunity knocks, but you still have to answer that call. Speaking of knocking, I think that I hear the door knocking, and we have our first guest ready to go. Can't wait to speak to them. Let's see if by the magic of the interwebs, you got him?
Yeah. Dan.
It's Dan Gonzalez. You can't beat that. Dan helps education technology companies to unlock the power of their products to drive next level growth. Education technology. This is an emerging thing, as we found out yesterday, Dave. The idea of leveraging technology to
Teach others.
teach others all kinds of things. I'm so surprised of all the things that are out there, and I can't wait to hear from Dan. Dan, welcome to Get Book Solid.
Thank you, Sean. Well, thank you for having me. Pleasure to meet you, David, and good to see you again, Sean and Lacey.
Yes.
Great to have you here. Well, I'm just going to pop in because EdTech has been the start of the chasm of my entire career. I started my career in legal research online, which was one of the first West publishing EdTech companies in the world, created Boolean language searching, natural language searching, with great resistance. And one thing about education is it's slow in its growth, in the respect that people, it moves like a battleship at galactic speed. It's just so slow. And there seems to be always in ed tech a resistance from the establishment. And I'll give you an example, Dan. When I presented Westlaw to the Supreme Court in my 20s, Justice Scalia himself, he looked at Westlaw. It was running on 9600 baud modems with DOS. I read a FedSup search, and he looked at me and he said, son, nobody, and I will repeat, nobody will ever do research on a computer. You need books. And that seems to have luckily
Changed a
dissipated
little bit.
some, but curriculum and education are still resistance, the late adopters. How have you been able to facilitate making and growing companies within this construct when there's so much resistance from the establishment?
When I think about building out products in education technology, I really always work with clients to make sure that we're solving real problems that customers actually care about, right? You can't force people to take something they don't want to take. And as you point out, David, there's a lot of, it's not always intentional, but there certainly can be a lot of resistance to change, and there can be a lot of reinforcement to stick with existing systems. And certainly there's a lot of different areas of ed tech where, teachers, principals, other folks can get penalized for trying something new if it doesn't work. And so it really is about making sure that we're solving problems they care about. We're demonstrating efficacy, right? If we say we've got a reading program that helps boost reading scores, we have to show that. We have to demonstrate that. We've got to, show the research and really convince folks that this works. The other thing is helping teachers and educators navigate that change, right? So you can't just give them a program and say, here, good luck, right? You've got to work with them. You've got to show them how to use it. You've got to realize that I work mostly in K-12. So they're, in front of a classroom of 20, 30 kids. And it's not always easy to do something new in front of a classroom of 20 to 30 kids. So you really have to make sure they understand how to use it, the benefits, and how it can make their lives easier, their jobs easier.
Well, Dan, I think that's really important for all of our listeners out there, is to understand a little bit more about what ed tech means. Like, how are these teachers utilizing it in the classroom? What does that interface look like, and how does it benefit the students?
Sure. So ed tech has a lot of different areas these days. There's a lot of software programs that are delivered, on the internet or an iPad, on a Chromebook. There's more and more physical devices you see in the classroom. People are getting really creative with the products they develop. So, if you're teaching younger students, for example, a lot of times I'll see now where there's physical objects that interface with virtual objects, because younger students they learn more tactily, right? They need to see it, they need to touch it, they need to feel it. I saw a really cool program that taught kids how to code, and it was done with physical blocks where the kids could link pieces of code together, but those code were actual blocks. The pieces of code were blocks, and make a little robot move. So there's a lot of different really interesting ideas out there. I think people are tapping into AR and VR, and of course AI is all the rage these days. So there's just a lot of different really interesting ideas. And we need to make sure that we're impacting students positively, helping the teachers learn how to use the technology, and really helping companies grow by making sure, again, they're solving those real problems people care about.
Working with Sherman College of Chiropractic for many years, completing, I think, my 8th year on the board of trustees, we over 8 years ago launched an EdTech project to move to iPads at a time when it was pretty innovative. At that time, a lot of the higher education hadn't gone to that, trying to put all of the books, all of the cool stuff. Like, to me, you take the test on the iPad, the student leaves the room, they know instantaneously what their score was. Like, I remember back waiting for them to post the scores on the wall anxiously. Well, now literally you just leave and boom. The technology, I was amazed that just in classroom, you can ask a question. How many of you think it's A? And the students can hold up their iPads, A or B. And the teacher could just scan with their iPad the class and then automatically grade people. But as David was talking about, and the same thing we experienced at Sherman College, is sometimes there's resistance, and the resistance can come from the faculty, staff, administration, the teachers, and the administration can also come on the learning side. One part of what you do, Dan, is to help to create cohesiveness, bond that project initiative together. But talk to us a little bit about some of the resistance points that people might have in ed tech and how you might be a resource to help overcome that resistance.
Yeah, absolutely. So, ed tech, especially if you're selling into an ecosystem, right? It's sort of like B2B, and there's definitely a lot of different players and a general ecosystem you have to sell into. It's not even just I'm selling this product to a teacher, they're going to use it with their students, right? There's your teacher or your professor, there's absolutely your students, right? So there you've got, 20 or 30 people that you have to teach how to use the product and the benefits and all that. But there's also an administrator who's making the purchase. There may be a department chair or a department head who's involved in decision making, right? There's somebody who has to install that technology, right? There's technology departments in schools that have to get things up and running, around the August time period for 5, 10, 15, 20,000, in some cases 100,000 kids, right? There's a lot of different moving pieces. There's parents. And so it's really about mapping out from start to finish, right? What does it look like when you're starting to use this product from the very beginning, right? Again, that installation process. How do I get it up and running as a district for the 10,000 kids in my district? Making sure those resistance points are as low as they can be, or friction points, right? Because you can have a great product, and if that IT administrator isn't set up for success, they may not install it, right? They may not even want to buy it, and they do have a voice in that buying process. So right from the beginning, making sure that journey is clearly documented, so you know exactly what the map of that journey looks like. To working with the teachers to understand again how to properly use it, making sure the parents know, right? There's so many kind of reinforcing mechanisms in education technology where you think about, again, specifically in K-12, most of the parents themselves haven't been in school in 20 or 30 years. And so when they want to help their kid with homework, they're thinking back 20, 30 years ago, well, this is what I used to do. Well-meaning parents want to help their kids with homework. And when things change and they feel embarrassed because they can't help their kid with, quote unquote, new math, then it's, again, it's another point where the parent may go back to the school, they may complain, they may be frustrated. And again, coming from a good place. So it's really all about making sure that every player in that entire system understands that, what the change is, why it's there, right? People don't just throw new math. I keep using new math as an example because it's a real one, but it happens all the time. People don't throw out these new changes just because they want to. There's usually research that backs it. There's reasons. There's evidence that this new way of learning works. And so making sure everyone understands what it is, why it's happening, and making it as easy as possible, right? Teachers are busy people. You want to make sure that their time is being used effectively, that you're not making things unnecessarily hard for them, and that you're again reducing those friction points.
Well, I think that's good advice for any sales process, for anybody in sales that has a business, is to think about all of the potential people that are involved so that they're educated and understand what it is that you're selling. Yeah.
Yeah. And, as was mentioned, you have faculty, staff, administrators, teachers, parents. Everybody is involved in this ever evolving
has an opinion.
Space. And so look, if Dan can be of service to you, if you would like to see what he can do for your child, for the school that you're attending, for the school that you send your child to, reach out to him, EdTech Edge. Get the edge, edtechedge.com, and find out how he can be of service to help to facilitate bringing EdTech into your child's or your school where you're teaching, whatever it is. Time to get up to speed with EdTech. Dan, thanks so much for jumping on. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and if you obviously are an ed tech company, I know Dan specializes in empowering those companies in order to facilitate that. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew out there how many the breadth and scope of what he does and how he does it. So thank you, Dan. Really appreciate it, what you're doing. I've lived a decade in that space, so I pray for your happiness.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Lacey. Pleasure to be on.
Thank you,
Thank
Dan.
you.
Everybody reach out to Dan and get some information. And yes, I mean, what an expansive space. Like we said, we're learning so much about everything that is out there. I know we have waiting John as well. Fascinating story. So let's bring in John. He is also looking to get book solid. We also, interestingly, have had a lot of discussion. This is like the alignment of the universe, right, David? We had conversations yesterday with Ike Shahada about his
Nice.
sandwiches.
Nick couldn't even say Shahada right, and he's been friends for like 40 years. And
the journey in the food space is interesting.
Very interesting,
right? Like the idea of creating. Oh, John got cut off. He's coming right back. But the idea of in the food space of, I mean, it's an art, it's a passion, it's a science, it's a service, which is interesting too. But it's a product. Like food is a hard one, and John's kind of making that jump out of the food space into the service side.
Yeah, restaurant industry is one of the hardest industries I think that there is. I mean, the success rate of restaurants, I think, is very low, right?
Very, as you know. And it's interesting because in this era of technology and digital content, both can be great separators, but they're also great equalizers. I was thinking with both of our guests, with Dan and as John comes on here, I was thinking, gosh, if I was a inner city, low budget public school, I actually have an advantage because the technology is so inexpensive comparatively. And two, I don't have the CYA and the resistance because I have nothing to lose to put great technology in it. And the same thing holds true in restaurants, that in a hyper competitive space where it's really difficult to get past the first few years of a restaurant,
Right.
that, these different digital switches in the content that we can create is a great separator if you know how to use it. But it's also for those that may not have the budgets to pay for billboards and, all the different things that the big chains and the food, the equity guys spend on food groups because they can leverage the 1,000 restaurants that they have. It's an amazing equalizer as well as a separator, especially for those that don't have anything to lose. And when you have that many people failing, I would say that the statistics tend to lean towards those that have less to lose.
Do you know that I have seen people utilize AI for creating recipes? I mean, you can literally utilize AI for anything in any industry. And I think that that's what's really powerful, is that, like you said, it is the great equalizer. And the more creative that you can think about how to utilize it, the more it can benefit you and your business, right? And there's a lot of resistance to utilizing AI for sure, but when you can figure it out and feel comfortable in how you prompt it and how you use it, I think it can be a powerful tool.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like the ordering system to that end, Lacey. How much there's so much conflict at a restaurant when you and I'll use you as an example. For example, Lacey might order, I want no onions and little salt and this and that, and then the guy can't, he's high, right? The waiter's high, so he can't remember it. So like with AI, you could pick something that sounds good and literally just pick the ingredients and it will show up to the chef. And now you can have custom orders exactly as you want it. And all these restaurants don't have to worry about the customization and communication. But I thought that was a great example, actually. Go ahead, Sean. Sorry for interrupting.
No, I see that Coach John is on, and I mean, we got to do a show on AI, but let's bring on John.
We do a show with a high waiter as well.
We could do that. I don't know if John's high, but
no, I don't think so.
John's been sober for 6 years, so no.
Congratulations. Well, John, tell us about this journey. So from a passion for being in the kitchen to now helping people not learn to cook, but to leverage your knowledge from being in the kitchen to create happier, healthier individuals. Tell us about that journey. Why the jump?
Well, and it's interesting because it's really not that big of a jump, because what I've found is people have a really hard time enjoying healthy foods and saying that it's expensive too,
Mhm.
right? And I've really taken for granted all the seasonings, all the knowledge, and no offense, I don't think AI can ever get to the level that chefs and cooks and people's taste buds really can. Like, I think I'm going to be able to outdo AI any day. And it's interesting, this conversation that you guys were having. I had it on my phone while my laptop booted back up. I'm actually getting a little bit back into the kitchen space with my in-person services. I live in a very small town. I thought I had a marketing problem, a sales problem. It turns out those things just weren't there. I wasn't marketing locally, and apparently for like a really small town, there's this huge market for done for you healthy meals, and nobody's meeting that need.
I'd sign up for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of people don't. They're like, you got the insurance, you got, the overhead, you got to open up a kitchen, and nobody's taking the time to go and have those conversations and talk to kitchens that are already in existence, have already had their inspections done, talk to the town, figure out the licensing. And this has turned out to be a really good move for me. So I'm actually moving forward with that. And the funny thing is too, is like, I've been doing cooking classes online for people, so you can actually see like, hey, this is what the food looks like when it's done cooking. This is the stage. This is when you add the salt. This is when you add the sage, or whatever the case. So yeah, it's kind of funny that that's how the conversation went, but literally in the last couple of weeks, this is how the business has been going.
Love it.
It's such a powerful lesson too for every business owner, because I talk to so many people that have that limiting belief that, oh, I live in such a small town. My ideal client would never exist here. People can't afford what I have to offer. And in reality, oftentimes it's just shifting your perspective and figuring out what that actual need is, because there is plenty of people. There's an abundant amount of people all over the planet that want what you have, right? And oftentimes they're right under your nose. So I love that you've made that shift to help the people of your town eat healthier and be happier.
It's really interesting. I invested in a company called Cookin for people like you, Coach John, that live
I
in.
just found them actually.
Yeah,
I actually just bought that product.
yeah, that's awesome. So it's really cool because not only does it have people, professionals, and allow you to also facilitate content to drive traffic locally in your own social silo to provide these customized meals. But one of the fun aspects too is what they didn't expect. They expected people like Coach John to love cooking, but what they didn't expect is there's like a whole bunch of old Italian and Jewish grandmas that are bored shitless and they love to cook meals for people. And so literally you can order from specific people these meals, and it's like the Uber of food, and they come and pick it up from your house. So like your grandma's making meals for everybody in your local town, and like, oh, my grandma has this great lasagna. She has something to do, a purpose. She makes money, and it's the best effing food, they say, because they get people locally like Coach John or Bubby to cook up their favorite meals. And I love the application, and those people like John that understand content combined. How important is it on the content side? You do the cooking classes. That to me is the most important component because you're building that community.
Yeah, I'm really thinking of taking advantage of the monetization of like Facebook and YouTube and everything for that, and kind of putting that out, on my own dime for free. A lot of people don't have that recognition of this need for it. Like usually with the coaching, I have to sit down and have a conversation with somebody, with a brand new client, about breakfast. Usually that's the conversation that I have to have with somebody. And it's like, honestly, some of the best solutions that I've found, it's like, hey, you would really benefit from toast with eggs. Those
Mhm.
are the nutrients you're missing. A lot of the B vitamins, the protein, the omega-3s. And I get a lot of kickback with carbs and bread, right? You know, everyone's thinks they're gluten intolerant. And I've actually found through some elimination diets that preservatives are just mimic a lot of the symptoms, right? If you
Makes
go
sense.
look at your bread, how many ingredients do you have on it? Usually there's like 10 to 15. And how many do you need to make bread? Eggs, water, flour, yeast, sugar, you know? So
Cool.
Yeah.
I love it. And
There goes your big plate of French fries for breakfast, like the other day, Sean.
I didn't eat all those
just
fries.
when I'm eating it.
He didn't eat them all. I
I
wanted
didn't
some.
eat them all. I want to.
You know what? Potatoes are pretty good. I think potatoes are a pretty good food.
Me too.
Well, I want to direct everybody to check out John. I know we're getting short on time. We had a little tech issue, but we got it handled. And listen, if you want to connect with John, Jon, JohnTHealth.com, JohnTHealth.com. Connect with John. Find out all of the amazing stuff that he is offering, all the way from cooking classes
Mhm.
to now done for you meal service, you know, to even some coaching and advice on how to eat healthy, so you can have a healthy and well body. John, thank you so much for jumping on and sharing your passion with us.
Thank
Yes,
you.
go ahead. Oh,
Appreciate you.
awesome. JohnTHealth.com. Make sure you check him out. You know, I want to end with this. I love that he found this, Dave. So many people lack the ability to have resourcefulness. So I want to recognize John, and what a resourceful idea, because yes, there are so many kitchens. Look, most restaurants are open probably from, you know, probably 3 o'clock. They start their prep, probably shutting down around, you know, midnight ish, cleaned up. But what if you came in at midnight and you said, I'll come in at midnight and I want to use your kitchen from midnight until 5 a.m. because I'm going to do meal prep for these people and I'll have it cleaned up in the morning. So when you guys come back, the kitchen is closed overnight. You have an opportunity to maybe throw them a little bit of rent, lease money, you know, kick them something, and you're utilizing a resource. And so many people are looking for commercial kitchens,
Right.
and they're missing the fact that so many kitchens are closed, not being used at all in your own town where you could be servicing people if you have a passion for this.
Yeah, there's great businesses, the Ghost Kitchen, where they're actually
Mhm.
24 hours a day lease out a commercial kitchen. So you're right on it.
Yep.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Listen, make sure you check out David this week. You can catch him at the collab. Go to ticketmaster.com, look up David Meltzer. It'll come right up. Get your tickets. Reach out to him if you need extra VIP. I would need that. I would be like, I want the suite. I want the full
Go big
experience.
or go home.
Yeah, if you're doing that, you can't get that through Ticketmaster. Reach out to David or his team, David at dmeltzer.com. He's coming out to Aspire, all the great folks at Aspire this weekend. And then if you're lucky, you might catch him in Las Vegas. Lacey and I are off to Nashville. We're going to be in
Come say
Nashville
hi
this
if you're there.
Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all kinds of stuff. We'd love to connect with you. This is great, but in person is better. Make sure you catch us somewhere real soon. Dave, thanks so much for your time.
Get some sleep, my friends. And I just can't tell you, I miss you both already. Every time we're together, I get separation anxiety in the last few hours, and I'm just glad I get to see you every week. So thank you. Best of luck at your event, and I appreciate your support with mine.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
See you guys. We'll be back again next week with Get Booked Solid.